Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Station 71 podcast. I just wanted to pop in before we start this week's episode and remind you that this week is going to be a continuation of last week's episode where we discussed some Disney movies that came from the park IPs with our friend Jerry from Mouse Rants. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, be sure to check that out in our podcast feed, wherever you're getting this podcast from. I wanted to say thank you again to Jerry for coming on and talking some Disney movies with us. It was a lot of fun, and we always enjoy having another perspective on the show. I hope you guys enjoy this week. Now let's roll that intro music.
Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
Ooh. So what's the next movie on our list, Beth?
We will move on to actually a good movie or a good franchise, maybe. I haven't seen all of them, to be completely honest. Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one came out in 2003.
Do we want to talk about the first Pirates movie since that launched the franchise, and that's probably the one that we really started to see stuff from the movie go into the parks?
I think it has
Yeah,
some
that's
other
what I
tie-ins.
figured.
Yeah. So that one I've actually seen pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to give the plot summary?
How do you describe it?
I feel like almost everyone has seen this, though. You know, like the other ones are so
Yeah.
obscure, but for those that haven't,
Johnny
you
Depp
can-
plays a drunk guy.
You get that is actually
There you
there
go.
it is. That's the best summary.
What does happen in the first one?
Elizabeth Swann is supposed to be married to Norrington. She doesn't want to be. She runs away. And then there's a whole thing with Jack Sparrow, I guess.
This one's more the curse than anything,
Yeah.
because
Right,
it's
right,
about
right.
how they have that curse that they have to have like a blood sacrifice to get rid of, and
Are they all ghosts at this point already?
Yes.
yeah, and this is the one where she finds out that Turner's a pirate, and she
Because they have to return that one coin that they found on him when he was a little boy.
yeah. Well, that was actually a really good summary there, guys. We worked together to piece that one up.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen any of these films.
see, I went back and actually rewatched it right before this just to kind of have it fresh in my mind and everything. And I'm going to say, I know Johnny Depp has kind of gotten some flack, just kind of the way the character has evolved and kind of come like more and more of a character of itself as the plot progressed through all the movies. But I think the first one, he did a pretty good job. And I think the first one just in total, like, extremely good casting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa was like one of the best castings I've seen in like a big franchise movie series like this.
I think the benefit that this movie had over pretty much everything else is it was set up to actually succeed. Like, the plot of the movie was really good and wasn't too convoluted.
Stupid.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It had a really good cast that fit the roles that were placed in front of them, and the movie itself is very memorable.
Well, and Johnny Depp in this one, it's like he's so clever, and it's like he's this drunk guy, but then you realize that these, quote-unquote stupid things he was doing, he, like, really has a plan behind it, and you're like, oh my god. And, like, you see what he does. Like, whenever he first gets to the town and he talks that guy out of making him pay, and then he steals the money, and it's like, he sounds like an idiot, but it was all planned. And, like, as the character has evolved, he's just, like, a really stupid drunk guy now. And I think it's really sad, honestly.
Was it in our group chat, or did I hear this on a podcast that apparently the last movie, it's like, in comparison to what you just said, where he's cleverly doing things that make him seem stupid, he just has stupid luck instead?
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen the last ones too, so that I have no idea how true that is.
It's really disappointing. Like I actually just rewatched it not too long ago, and like even just the beginning of the most recent one, it's like he had this quote unquote plan and it doesn't even work out, and he's like asleep and wakes up at the end because he was like drunk, and it's like, really, this is not like the Jack Sparrow that people fell in love with.
Well, I feel like a lot of these movies that have these long-running franchises kind of run to the same issue, is that like there's this side character that the fans kind of like, and then they try to push to make him the main character. Because in the first one, Johnny Depp was not the main character in this movie. Like Orlando Bloom had the lead role. And then as more people kind of gotten to like the Jack Sparrow character that Johnny Depp had created, they start shoving him more and more and more into, you know, the main character role of the movie. And it kind of gets annoying. You know, you have the side character that has these like quirky things about him that makes him good as a side character. Doesn't really make for a good main character in a movie.
It's the Urkel effect. I mean, that's what it was. The show was supposed to be about the family, and in season 2, they're like, nope, Urkel or die, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So I guess the same thing. Although I didn't think Jack Sparrow had a small role at all in the first one.
No, it was definitely a large role, but I wouldn't say he was the main character. He was not what was driving the plot, really. So
yeah, I guess once we hit the sequel, the second one, it became about Jack Sparrow.
Exactly.
I'm one of the people who love both sequels, and I say both sequels not expecting On Stranger Tides to even exist, because that movie was just god-awful.
Oh my god. I will rewatch that movie all day, every day. Mermaids for life.
Are you kidding me? With the mermaids? Ooh.
That's why she rewatches it.
Yeah, I love the mermaids.
Those mermaids used to be in the ride.
I know, and I was so happy. That was like the best. That's when I worked there, and I was so excited when they added all that stuff. It was amazing.
Did you see the mermaids in the water, Kirsten? Because that's an effect I've read about so many times, but I can't find anything. How cool was that? Because that just sounds really cool.
I mean, it was like it wasn't as cool as, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it wasn't that cool. I was just glad. I love the song that they sing, and like I love it. I love like the girl who ends up like the main mermaid or whatever who's in the movie. Like, yeah, I love it.
Mermaids.
So has anyone here, other than me, seen the most recent one?
Me?
I saw it.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I actually liked it. Jack Sparrow, as everyone else said, was just a caricature, of his old self. But I thought the movie was well plotted, and I liked Salazar. I thought he was a good bad guy.
And you know, they definitely tried to tie it in more with the earlier plot lines too, which was nice to see kind of a return to form in that way.
Oh, you mean recreating the first scene of the movie, like at least the first 20 minutes of the movie?
Exactly. But no, I think it was a definite improvement.
To tell you how far I've gotten with that movie, I got it with one of my last Disney Movie Club movies. It literally sat on my shelf until I realized that I could get movie club points for redeeming the little cards on the inside, which I could turn into gift cards to use towards my Disney trip. That was the only time I opened it.
Mario, this is shameful.
I'll watch it eventually. Maybe I'll watch it tomorrow.
It's a little late for that, buddy.
That's okay. I'll tell you guys how much I either enjoyed it or hated it. I feel like I've missed a Pirates of the Caribbean movie too, somewhere along the lines, but I feel like I still remember all of them, if that makes any sense.
I don't think the third one was great, honestly. It was weird to me. I didn't like the third one.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is that Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, they were filmed at the same time. And people didn't like it because it was, quote unquote, too confusing or convoluted. I just think it was a lot different from the first one. A lot of stuff was going on, and if you have to like that type of movie to be into it, and if you don't, they're gonna lose you. I happen to like a good plot with a million things happening, so I was on board personally. But I could see why people were, I guess, confused, because the first one was one straightforward plot with a couple B things here and there, and this one was just there's so much going on. So I get it.
Just to review, like, what were the sequels about in like a couple sentences?
Oh boy, a couple sentences.
As
Tall task right there.
As short as possible, short and sweet.
Isn't the one just mermaids? We already covered that.
Yeah, that one's mermaids. That's it. Dead Man's Chest and At World's End were both kind of one long story about, I guess they're trying to find Davy Jones' heart from his...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And, Bootstrap Bill.
And all these pirates are related. Like, so many, like, amazing, like, surprise dad, surprise kid, like...
Well, it's like Star Wars.
Oh, gosh.
Everyone's related.
So are all the same people? Which, I know there were some that they didn't have, like, certain characters, right?
Bloom and Knightley dropped out after the third.
And
so the
really?
fourth
And
one...
they never came
Orlando
back.
Bloom came back to make kind of
He
a
makes a
cameo
cameo.
in Dead Men Tell No Tales, but it was a very, very small part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on Stranger Tides, they changed the entire cast around pretty much and added Penelope Cruz.
Who was amazing.
Right. Not in that movie, personally, in my opinion, but... and then I guess people complained about the fact that all the people they loved weren't in that one, so they brought some people back in Dead Men Tell No Tales, but it was... there was still enough, like, new characters.
So someone on here, actually, I think Brian, I always forget we color code these things. You had a couple...
There's a key at the top.
Yeah, because someone was really good about making these docs. Brian's got a couple attraction tie-ins in here. I don't know if you want to go over them.
Yeah, these were, and I mainly did this is to kind of compare and contrast this with our next film. I think Pirates did a really good job of being like its own movie and just, I'm going to throw a really stupid pun in here, but kind of like throwing the Disney fans a bone with like some of the like references that they put in there. So the couple ones that I noticed going through, the movie starts off with Elizabeth Swann singing Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. So there's one very, very obvious in your face one. They have the scene where the town is on fire and all the prisoners are trying to lure the dog over with who has the keys with the bone to unlock the door. Pretty famous scene from the end of the ride. A really subtle one, and I had to go back and watch this. There's a scene when they are going in on rowboats into the cave where the cursed treasure is held, and it's literally on screen for like a second, but the camera pans over and there's a skeleton on the ground and there's like the crab standing next to him like snapping his claws, and it's from like the very first scene
Beginning, yeah.
Yeah, when you come in on the boat, and it was weird, like it just like kind of clicked in my head real quick that I was like, oh, that's from the movie. And I was like, I don't think a lot of people would catch that as a really, really subtle one. And then just the whole town of Tortuga in the movie is basically modeled after the town that you move through Pirates in the attraction.
Yeah, we got the redhead before she, turned into the new redhead.
Right.
So
Cool.
I mean, there were a lot in the sequels that had a lot of the Disneyland ride. I haven't been there in forever, but I know like the whole Tia Dalma and what's it called? That the Bayou. Mm-hmm. That whole area is like that scene in the Disneyland ride, which I haven't seen in years.
I do think I may have said this before, but I do think another thing that this movie benefited from was very strong characters. Mm-hmm. Like even Captain Jack, who's supposed to be more of a background character, is a very strong character.
Well, even like the sidekicks, like the pirate sidekicks, the two guys that are always together, the bald guy and then the one with one eye, like those are memorable.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the monkey.
Oh gosh, I did actually forget about the monkey. So we ready to move on to the next one? Because I'm really excited about this one.
Oh gosh.
I can't believe these two movies were made in the same year.
Right?
So, plot summary for this one. Who's got this?
Not me.
I mean,
Beth looks you typed it in the show notes.
I put the plot summary in there because there was just so much that I felt like needed to be mentioned, but I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So basically, there is a wealthy mansion owner, Edward Gracie, and he's led to believe that the woman he loves, who is a multiracial woman named Elizabeth Henshaw, has committed suicide, so he hangs himself in remorse, and then later, many, many years later, he hires, I guess because he's a ghost now, he hires realtors, Eddie Murphy's character, and his wife is also a realtor, to come and sell the mansion. So they and their 2 kids take a trip over there, and as every movie ever does, a torrential downpour happens, so they're stuck there for the night. And the kids meet the staff members there and get stuck in a secret the Jim Evers is Eddie Murphy's character. Jim gets stuck into a secret passageway where he meets Madame Leota and runs away because she's a floating head in a crystal ball, and why wouldn't you run away? And then he bumps into the kids, and they have discovered that all of the residents in the mansion are ghosts, and all of the ghosts are stuck there until Edward Gracie and Elizabeth Henshaw are reunited. So they can't move on to the afterlife. So Gracie, during all of this with the kids and Jim Evers, Edward Gracie is trying to woo Jim Evers' wife, Sarah, the other realtor, and asks her if she recognizes him. And she's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And they discover that she looks like Elizabeth Henshaw. Well, supposedly a striking resemblance is the same actress. It looks exactly the same. They're identical. And they find out that Elizabeth was murdered by Gracie's racist butler, Ramsley, because he didn't want him mixing with multiracial people.
Because when you think Haunted Mansion, you think about racial tension.
Right, exactly. So, Ramsley figures out that they have discovered his secret, so he locks the kids in a trunk and kicks Jim Evers out and puts a spell on the house to trap him outside. And basically tells Sarah, hey, I'm going to kill your kids if you don't marry Edward Gracie, because you guys need to be reunited so that we can all move on to the afterlife. So Madame Leota talks Jim into driving his car into the house so that he can get in, because apparently the spell doesn't work on cars. And he rescues Sarah and the kids and tells Gracie the truth about how Ramsley murdered Elizabeth. So then Ramsley summons some wraiths to try and kill everyone, but then a dragon comes to take him to hell. And Ramsley tries to drag Jim with him, but Gracie saves him, and Ramsley ends up going to hell. So then Sarah collapses. Sorry,
No, go ahead. I thought you were done the plot summary because this just felt very long.
It keeps going.
I know. I felt like none of this could be left out.
I think it could have all been left out.
Well, yeah, but so anyway, Sarah, the wife, collapses, and it's revealed that she was poisoned by Ramsley before he got dragged away by the dragon. So then this floating orb appears and possesses her, and that revives her somehow. And the orb, it turns out, is Elizabeth Henshaw's ghost. And she reunites with Gracie, and all the ghosts get to move on into the afterlife. And then the Evers family decides it's time to go on vacation, and they bring Madame Leota and the 4 singing busts on their vacation. The end.
What in God's name?
Yeah.
Before we start the discussion on this one, I want to go over some of the taglines for this movie.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not going to read all of them because some of them are really, all of them are really stupid. But
how many taglines could there be?
10 on IMDb. There are 10.
What?
I'll go over all of them. The first one is The Reluctant Ghost. The next one is Get Out with an exclamation point. And this is where they start to get good. Your future would be in good hands, ... if she had any. He'll be happy to serve you,
Whoa, what is that in
on a
reference
plate.
to?
Well, they get worse.
Was there a ghost that didn't have hands? Did I miss that part?
I guess Madame Leota?
Oh,
maybe.
Okay.
This next one says, check your pulse at the door, ... if you have one. They keep using this whole, thing.
Man.
If you have one.
The next one is just open house.
Some of these are not taglines; they're just words.
This next one is really bad. Or, well, the one after it's really bad. It says it has a living room ... and a dying room.
Oh no.
Oh my god!
I kind of like that one, actually.
The next couple, the next two are my favorites. 2 bathrooms, his and hers.
Oh boy.
This next one, which I'm gonna leave this be the last one because the other one, the final one that I was gonna skip is with so many ghosts you'll never be alone in the dark.
That's so dumb. They have so many good taglines they could have just taken literally from the ride.
Yeah.
Like 999 ghosts, but there's room for one more. Like, hello.
That's all they had to say, and that could be it.
Or we've been dying to have you.
That would have been a good one.
Yes, literally.
This last one is my favorite, and it says comes with a fixed mortgage.
More.
Like more.
Yes.
More.
Boy.
I was about to say, and the pun is.
The best part of this is that, Brian and I love a good pun, but none of those were good. I also want to go back a moment because I pulled up the Country Bear taglines, and there's one. One, and it says they're legends. Period. Barely. And it's spelled like bear.
Oh,
Okay,
that is garbage.
I'm getting off. I'm going to sleep, guys. I'm done with this.
Anyway, that was all I had to contribute to this because this is bad. This is very bad.
Yeah.
I've never
No,
seen this
just-
movie either. Like, I'm glad now.
Yeah, and this one I feel like hurt the most because I feel like they could have made something really good from Haunted Mansion because it's an incredible ride.
I just don't know why they would go the direction of like biracial, like racism. Like what? Where? Why did?
I don't understand why they went the direction of Eddie Murphy.
Well, yeah,
I
that
don't
first of
understand
all.
why they went the direction of having a family show up. That's a whole
Yeah.
another thing. It should have been 1 or 2 people, and it would have been a
Yeah.
lot better. They could have like played with that a little bit more. But then having the kids in the mix, it makes them have to do something, and that
Yeah.
was just a long scene. The whole thing with the spiders, forget it.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing that I was saying before. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean is such a straightforward plot with such memorable characters, and this plot is just so heavy with so many different things going on that, honestly, where is the main plot of this movie?
Well, see, this is what I think the issue was, is that if you look at the attractions, Pirates of the Caribbean, you're kind of just put in the middle of a scene. You're not really necessarily following a plot line.
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion has more of kind of a somewhat linear plot, and I think the issue is with Pirates, they kind of just had free reign to do whatever they want. All you gotta do is throw pirates in it, throw a couple of nods to the attraction, you're good to go. Haunted Mansion, they kept having this secondary plot that had nothing to do with the plot of the ride, and they kept trying to like tie in stuff like the actual plot from the ride into it, and it just like it made it this convoluted mess.
Well, if I can just say one quick thing. First of all, there are these books by Jason Sorrell called Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, respectively, from the Magic Kingdom to the movies. And in the Haunted Mansion book, it says that Haunted Mansion, and this is kind of like this weird thing where Haunted Mansion did not have a plot at first. It was the cast members who came up with the plot. And because of that, it became kind of like a legend, and then it became reality where they put the cast member plot into a movie, and then they took the movie and the cast member plot and put it back into the attraction, which I think is kind of cool if you take the movie out of it, because it's like art imitates life, imitates art, imitates life, imitates art, and back and forth. It's interesting.
It was very interesting.
I killed that.
No, I'm confused as to how the movie went back into the attraction.
Well, basically, there was no plot. It was not meant to have a plot. It was supposed to just be a bunch of different random scenes. The movie took kind of what the cast members made up as a plot with the guy who killed himself because of the wife and the.
Well, that started out as the plot. Whenever I worked there, I went on a backstage tour. And we were told that it started out having this kind of semi-plot, but they decided it was too dark. So they did away with the plot. And so now it's like a combination of what the original plot was going to be, but some things that like cast members have made up over time, plus whatever like rumors come from guests, etc. So like there was kind of supposed to be a plot, but then by the time they like actually finished everything, they decided to take it out, which is why it doesn't all really make sense in the end.
Right, but then they bring back, some of the certain things like with the bride and, the new bride and everything. And there's a lot of, it just goes back and forth in terms of what was in the ride, what was supposed to be in the ride to what is now. So it's just like an amalgam of a lot of stuff that happens. So.
Yeah, except the bride is like the most Aryan-looking woman ever in the ride.
Yeah, her name is Constance.
There's no racial tension.
I didn't mean
there.
the racist plot.
I mean, I feel like they could have done so much though with like a Black Widow kind of thing, like that would have like not black, but like Black Widow.
See, now it's getting uncomfortable here.
There we go.
Maybe that's where it came from. Maybe they thought about it
too literally.
Yeah, but that would have been, I feel like they could have done something so good with that. I mean, it's like, that's interesting. It could be, I feel like it could be a good thing where they kind of make it acceptable for kids, but then there's the jokes that go like over the kids' heads for the parents. Like, I don't know. I think they could have done something good with it.
Yeah.
Oh, they definitely could have. They just didn't.
They just didn't.
Well, I know we're going to get to this a little bit later, but the rumor keeps coming up that Guillermo del Toro is working on a Haunted Mansion reboot. I'm excited just because his name's attached to it. I'm really, really hoping he draws some inspiration from the comics and ties that into it, because I love the plot line of the Haunted Mansion comics.
That's one way they could have made a good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have very high hopes for that one. I hope that it doesn't let us down.
As long as he, follows through. He's kind of known for picking up movies and then throwing them away. Never had doing them, so hopefully that's not that won't happen this time.
I also, before we jump off of this one, because I know we've sat on this for a while too, there's this weird thing with the Haunted Mansion that around the time that the movie came out, a video game also came out, but the video game itself was actually themed to the attraction and some of the earlier like plot lines of the attraction that we kind of talked about in the Haunted Mansion episodes, which is weird because it was used to pitch the movie.
Boy, that makes for a confusing mess.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about that one, but just a fun little aside there.
That was the
What
GameCube
console
game,
was
right?
that?
I think it's GameCube and PS2.
Yeah, it was like all the platforms of that generation, PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube.
Huh.
Very, very weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
I have like very vague memories of that game. That was the only reason I remembered it.
I'm gonna have to watch some videos later.
Do we want to tackle our next one that I know is a favorite of Beth's?
Oh my god, I love this movie.
And me.
Oh, yeah.
Yay!
I like this
I'm not
movie,
alone.
too. I was pleasantly surprised by this one.
We're talking about Tomorrowland. I love that movie too, so we're all in agreement so far.
Awesome.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure I'll love it when I do. Can I join the club?
It's a very...
Yeah, totally.
It's a very interesting movie that, like, I'm sure the concept alone is going to sound very convoluted, but actually sitting down and watching it, like, I very much enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I am really, like, sad that this movie bombed as hard as it did, because I feel like they could have taken this into the parks and made something super awesome, but because it bombed so hard, they're like, nah, let's pretend it didn't happen.
Which one was in this? Which guy?
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Which one was in this one?
I thought this was Russell Crowe.
He's
This
one
wasn't
of-
Russell Crowe?
No, so Jerry, the story is that Kirsten thinks that George Clooney, Russell Crowe, Mel Gibson,
Dennis
who's the
Quaid.
other
and
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid are quadruplets,
All right.
even though they don't look anything alike.
And Kevin Costner and Kevin Spacey. And Barry Manilow and Rod Stewart.
Okay.
She went
Barry
over
Manilow
this!
and Rod Stewart, I can see, but that's it.
Rod has the big mole. That's the only way I can tell them apart.
It's like a Chip and Dale situation right here.
There you
Which one
go.
wears the red shirt, or has the red nose?
Chocolate chip. Brown nose is chip.
That's how I remember too. Yeah.
So plot summary of this movie, Beth. I'll give this one to you because this is like one of your favorites.
Yeah, I love this movie. So basically, the plot is that there is a young boy named Frank Walker who is really like, he's an inventor. He's like trying to make a jetpack, and his dad is being real rude about it. Like, nah, you're dumb. Like, whatever. And anyway, that's a really great start to this description. But so he takes his jetpack and goes to this like inventor's. Like the World's Fair, actually.
I was gonna say, how did you not? How are you leaving that important plot point out?
Kind of has something to do with Disney here.
Right. So he goes to the 1964 World's Fair and is rejected, but then meets this young girl named Athena, and she has like faith in him somehow. She just has like a feeling, I guess, and gives him this little pin with a T on it, which I'm sure everybody has seen, and they go on to It's a Small World, and some little laser comes out, sees the pin, and like gives him a different route, which takes him to this transportation device, whatever it is, that takes him to Tomorrowland, which is the super futuristic, awesome place where everything is like innovative and
AKA what they should have rethemed Tomorrowland to.
Right, exactly. So I'm trying to figure out if I should go to the present or I don't know.
I mean, it would just be like years later, a mischievous, very smart, mischievous girl gets a hold of that pin, and I guess, I don't know. I would say like fantasy ensues because it's such like a specific plot that it would take a long time, I think, to explain.
A lot, yeah. Yeah, so
there's a lot of time jumps and things, and
yeah. So anyway, it's a really great film. It's very much so like a hopeful about the future, like we can save the world kind of film.
Yeah,
which I love.
And it bombed, and that is just like so
sad.
It's like, I don't know what the word is, not ironic, but it's just like so exactly what you would expect to happen in today's world, and very sad.
Yeah.
So one of the note that I put in is that just to tell everybody how hard it bombed, is the Hollywood Reporter estimated that the financial losses of this film were between $120 and $140 million.
Ooh.
That's a lot.
So,
and it's weird because it was directed by Brad Bird. It was produced by Damon Lindelof. It had a great team behind it. It just, I don't know. People just didn't get it, I think. I think that was the biggest thing. We actually, I also did an episode on that one called Tomorrowland is a Great Movie and You Have No Taste, where we talked about, we just listened to people who were ragging on Tomorrowland and told them how they were wrong. And
I also know that Beth has brought this up a couple times, but I think they just did a horrible job at marketing this film.
yeah, that I think that was a big thing in its failure, was that, like, even me being like a huge Disney fan, the first that I had really heard of this movie was at New York Comic Con, like the year before it came out. They had a Big Hero 6 and Tomorrowland
You were
panel.
there?
Like it was, yeah.
I was there too.
Oh my god, cool.
Yeah, we got the little pins in the bag.
Yeah. Oh my god, I was so stoked on it, even though I didn't know anything about the movie yet. But yeah, so I was like, the reason I went to the panel was because I was a huge Disney nerd, and like I had heard the movie, like that it was coming out, but I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know any concept of it, and then they played a clip from it, which was like intriguing, but still didn't really tell anything about the plot. And then that's the last I heard of it. Like, I didn't see it marketed anywhere. I didn't see previews for it or any advertising at all.
I think the biggest problem is they were trying to keep everything a mystery. Even in that panel, they were like, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. They weren't letting the actors say anything, so it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But, like, in terms of marketing, I think they were going for what they were doing with Lost, you know, since Damon Lindelof is attached to it, where it was like, here are all these mysteries. But they stopped doing that. So
Don't even get me started on Lost.
You might have an argument with me, my friend, but
Oh, I love Lost.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm like, don't get me started on it.
oh, then we're friends. But I think they were going for this whole like, oh, we're gonna do this online mystery. There's a box, and inside the box there's these, and then they just kind of stopped doing that and just didn't advertise anymore. So I was like, all right, well, there's that movie. But I mean, when you go to see it, it's, you know, it's got so many great messages in it, and it's got some good action, a lot of good comedy. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and like, again, like, I didn't even see this movie until after it was out of theaters. Like, I didn't even see it in theaters because I was like, I honestly forgot that it came out. But when I did see it, I was just like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. Like, why didn't I see it in theaters? Why aren't people talking about this?
I went to see it with my best friend who's not like a Disney person, and I feel like that's a big part of it. Like, this movie is the perfect movie for hardcore Disney fans, but for non-Disney people, they're just like, what? Like, they don't care about the World's Fair. Like, they don't understand, you know, what Epcot was supposed to be. And, you know, I think that's a big part of it, is like the audience isn't big enough.
But I mean, even like if you're not a Disney fan, I feel like you could still relate to this. Like, hey, the whole world, like everything's going really, really bad, and if we don't change, then it's gonna be like irreparable, which is literally exactly what's happening to the world right now. Mm-hmm. And like, it gives this like hopeful message at the end. Like, no, we can change it. Like, even one person can like make a difference. I feel like everyone can relate to that.
So we're pushing it close on time here. Let's quickly go over some of the upcoming films that we got coming up for these attractions, and maybe a couple words on if we're excited about them, how we feel about them. Just kind of run through this.
All right, so Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm very mixed feelings on this.
There's not a lot that I
excited.
like that Dwayne Johnson does, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's like super goofy, and so is Paul Giamatti.
Well, Paul Giamatti can be really good when he's put in the right movie.
Yeah,
But he's
but he
not
can also be
usually.
like goofy. And Emily Blunt too. She's like so good, but then she can also just be like
Right.
goofy. I don't know. And I feel like Jungle Cruise is like a goofy ride, you know? I don't know. I'm kind of excited.
Which is, I mean, like, it's interesting to look at it from that perspective, because it's like, okay, yeah, the goofy characters fit a goofy movie, but will it end up falling in the same way that like Haunted Mansion did? That's a thing that I'm scared of.
I see it as like Clue. That's kind of what I want it to be like. Clue.
It's interesting.
And I'm hoping there's going to be tons of references because there's not enough in some of these. And you know what? The people who don't get the references, it's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as long as they do the jokes well, where everyone will explain it. I mean, the Skipper Dan song by Weird Al was popular for people who weren't Disney people. So I think that Jungle Cruise really stretches out beyond, you know? But
It's
we'll
like
see.
dad jokes.
Yeah.
I love dad jokes. Apparently I'm alone in that.
No,
No.
you are not. You're most certainly not. You are very much among friends here. The next one we got is the one that Brian mentioned, Guillermo del Toro's.
Guillermo del Toro. You can
Thank
do it.
you. I can never pronounce his name right.
I always just try to say it really fast.
I hope that no
So
one
people,
gets
yeah.
Just think about quesadilla. How the L's.
It's the
There you go.
RM combo that gets me.
That's
what I
exactly
slip
what got
up
me.
at.
Oh,
I can get the Guillermo part. That's easy. That's the Guillermo.
just put Guillermo and Mo together.
Man.
So the Haunted Mansion movie,
Anyway,
which has been a concept since 2010. Wow. Did not know that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's been known that he just lets things go, and I have a feeling that's going to happen again. I hope not, but
The thing that I'm afraid of with this one, I keep saying I'm afraid of a lot of things. Wow, that's sad. But the thing that I'm afraid of with this one is we already got a Haunted Mansion movie. Like, are they going to ruin it even further? I hope not.
they can't. That's not possible.
Oh, don't put it out there, because they will.
Not here. I'm gonna say it's not possible if Guillermo Guillermo del Toro, God, you guys made me even mess up. If he's the one that does it, I don't think that they can mess it up any further. Now, if they try to put somebody else there,
I don't know.
maybe.
I didn't think Tim Burton could mess up Alice in Wonderland, but
yeah, I think he's lost his touch a little bit.
Yeah.
I like Big Eyes. That was a good movie. Anyway.
Also, Untitled Pirates of the Caribbean 6. I'm going to title this one Pirates of the Caribbean, Please Let It Die. Please Let It Die.
The last movie wasn't fantastic, but it kind of did a good job of just wrapping everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to feel so much like a tacked on sequel if they do this. I don't see how they could make this really fit in with anything else.
I thought they were rebooting it. I thought that's what they were saying, and that's why Johnny Depp's not going to be in it, because it's a completely different story.
Oh man, then
Oh, Johnny Depp's not in it?
Yeah, they made a whole big deal about it. Like, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. So,
Yeah.
and they're like, they removed him. No, they didn't. His character's not in it.
I've heard this running theory on the internet that apparently they're going to try to focus on Red in this movie. Like, they're going to make her a character and then, like, actually try to sell the character, which...
So is it supposed to be in the same universe?
No one asked for that.
Thank you.
I think it's supposed to be in the same universe, but it's just, like, a different set of pirates. From what I've heard, now, obviously, that's all internet hearsay. That could be totally wrong, totally out the window, and could have nothing to do with it. But
They're trying to bank on that SJW train.
that's what I heard. We also got,
Wait, Red like the redhead?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they call her now.
Like, I don't mind them doing these, like, side stories. It's like having an expanded universe, but the direction that they're going, if what you're saying is true.
I was gonna say I think it can go either way, but that makes me feel like, why?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they just changed her character and no one was happy about it, so they're trying to make everyone happy. And
No, look, she's really cool. I promise. Look at this movie we did. She's got an Irish accent. Everything's good.
we also have a Magic Kingdom movie directed by Jon Favreau.
So these, I was the one that put these in here. The only, the next few that I guess are on the list, I literally only was able to find out about because I had a 30-day free trial to IMDb Pro.
Some of these are actually on, like, regular IMDb, too.
Okay, I couldn't find any more details than what I put here.
This is it.
And some of these I didn't even know that these were things that were happening. But
yeah, this is totally it for most of these, because I was looking at, there's a tag on IMDb called movies based on attractions, which is very specific.
Yeah,
and
I wish I had found that.
I only found it because it was like one of the 2 tags on Country Bears. But
Was the other one worst movies ever?
no, it was actually movies about bears.
Oh, okay.
I guess that
They
fits.
had the Revenant and Country Bears.
So quick breeze through of these. We got another Tower of Terror movie, It's a Small World, and The Hill, which is basically a Matterhorn movie.
Why did they not call this the Matterhorn?
Yeah, that was weird, because even what you put in here where it says a group of adventurers climbing the Matterhorn encounter real-life Yetis, that wasn't in the description on plain IMDb. It just said, The Hill, a group of adventurers climb a mountain. And that was literally all that was there.
Wow,
But
informative.
It was tagged movies based on theme park attractions. So I guess they're trying to tie it back to the mountains somehow, but still, like, very left field.
Can I just say It's a Small World is the worst possible idea for a movie?
How
was-
do
Yeah,
they
just
what are they
plot?
even gonna do?
They might as well do Hungry Hungry Hippos the movie. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, it makes like as much sense as a live action Jungle Book or Dumbo.
Yeah,
Like-
that's true.
I'm hoping they turn this into a horror movie where all the dolls come to life.
I was going to
They
throw
did
this
that.
out
It's
that would
called
be
Escape
awesome,
from Tomorrow.
actually.
They did do that. I'm going to throw this out there, and I don't remember who is going to be on this train with me, but I would be happy if this was like you know how sometimes they title projects with like things to mislead people, which obviously It's a Small World is very direct, but I would be very happy if this was like one of those hidden titles for a Kingdom Keepers movie. That would be interesting, and the only reason I'm saying that is because the only part of that book that I remember is when the dolls come to life on It's a Small World.
You know what they need to do next?
What's that?
What movie? Another Tinkerbell movie.
Oh no.
Oh,
okay,
stop
and that's where we're gonna
God.
end this week's podcast.
Also, before we wrap it up, my boyfriend and I were talking after watching Country Bears,
Oh, no.
and apparently there is a thing that studios will do where they like make a movie with the intention of it bombing, so that they can like use it as a tax write-off. Do you guys know about this?
Well, that's like Uwe Boll in Germany. It's like a German thing. Like he made all these terrible video game movies purposefully because they could write it off, and it was intentionally bad, and they would make tons of money off of it. But he's also insane. So
Well, I guess the thing I was going to ask you guys is, do you think that any of these movies is a possibility that was the concept, or
That
did they
would
just try and they
explain a
failed
lot.
real hard? I feel like the Country Bears could maybe.
I don't think so, just because of how many people are attached
That's the
to that
thing.
movie.
If you take the cameo
Yeah.
appearances out of that movie, I would 100% agree with that.
But the cameos would like made it more expensive, which would mean a bigger tax write-off, right?
But the cameos also mean that they spent more money on it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That's true.
Or they, like you said, they have some kind of dirt on someone, and it's. So my question to you guys is: are there any of these movies on this upcoming list that actually sound appealing to you, or like they could potentially be something cool?
Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, Haunted Mansion,
Yeah.
if it's Guillermo del Toro.
if it's like a horror version of Haunted Mansion, like where it's not like, you know, I don't think they're gonna do an R-rated, but like a PG-13 horror, I think possibly on board with it.
Do you think they're gonna
Yeah.
they would push it to a PG-13 horror? Because that could be interesting.
I think
They could. I mean, Pirates is PG-13.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Huh.
I mean, a small child gets hung in the first 2 minutes of the third movie, so
That's right.
I mean,
all
that's-
about that part.
Oh wow.
I'd be
That
interested.
must have been one I didn't see.
I mean, I'd be interested in what this Magic Kingdom is. I mean, I think I've created this exact storyline in a run through of a Call of Cthulhu or like Dungeons and Dragons before.
Speaking right to me there.
There you go.
So before we tie this up, one, thank you, Jerry, for coming on this week and chatting movies with us. This has been an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to hear more about you.
Yeah, well,
Or
just
from you.
everything that I do is 18 plus. So, you know, unless I'm a guest. When I'm a guest, I can be super family friendly. See? But for my normal projects, you can find me at mouserants.gq. That's the website for my other show. My other show is a Story of Corey, storyofcorey.gq. And that's a Boy Meets World related show where me
All
and
right,
my friend
I'm
Jillian go.
Subscribing right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't know this.
Yeah, we're on season 2 right now, and we're just going through all the episodes in production order, and it's yeah.
If you ever need a host on that one to talk about the inconsistencies of Boy Meets World, I will happily come on.
Hey,
that
as
is
I
a
said, we're going in
subject.
production order, so there's not as many as you think.
It's bad. I've gone through and watched it straight through.
So yeah,
Well, I second that. Boy Meets World is legit my favorite TV show of all time.
awesome.
So.
So yeah, everybody come hang out at the
Yeah.
Story Corey, and of course, Mouse Rants is my flagship show, and that's me and Simone DeMilo talking about fun stuff with Disney. Kind of come up with original ideas of different topics. Get a little rude here and there, but it's all right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And speaking of Mouse Rants, we have a musical coming up. It's actually a 3-part musical, so the next 3 episodes on November 20th, 27th, and December 4th. It's got so many podcasters in it, people you may or may not know from different shows, people from off-Broadway, and it's a Quentin Tarantino / Disney crossover.
Nice.
It's a wild ride. The trailer's actually up if you go to the Mouse Rants YouTube. Just type in Mouse Rants, you'll find it.
Nice.
Sounds awesome.
Again,
Sounds very
18 plus.
exciting. Now, question to you. You said it's a musical episode. Is it like... Are you reviewing musicals? Is it actually like a musical?
So back in episode 34, I did a musical called the Mouse Rants Frozen Extravaganza, which was a story of a girl who worked at Walt Disney World and Epcot Center, and just when Frozen was taking over at that point, when Maelstrom was being taken away, etc. And this is...
So you wrote, like, original songs and stuff?
No, it's all parody songs. I'm not... I mean, I can write original songs, but it takes a lot of work.
Gotcha.
So they're all parody songs. That one had, like, 20 tracks. This one is 40 tracks over 3 different episodes. And just a lot of actors. And it's really... It's a lot of fun. It's very, very violent. It's an homage... It's really, it takes place entirely in Epcot Center, and it's about kind of what's going on right now, or how me and Simone feel Epcot's being treated at the moment.
Nice. Sounds good. I'm going to check it out for sure.
Yeah, same. Then that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Station 71 podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. And while you're there, leave us a review as well. If you want to get in touch with us or find us on any of our social media accounts, you can find links to our show notes at station71podcast.com. You can also send us your questions, comments, concerns to station71podcast@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail that we'll be happy to play back on the next episode at 561-899-6441. We hope you enjoyed your ride, and we'll see you real soon.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.